Good morning. I believe I've talked about this before in the past, but bears repeating. The Trump caravan in Texas trying to run the Biden bus off the road. One thing I hadn't thought about, somebody brought to my attention, is if Biden was on the bus, you'd have some dead rednecks right now. And that this is another example of how like rednecks are predatory. They prey on the weak, like Proud Boys, like they're just their gang, and they prey on the weak. They prey on you when you're vulnerable, when you're by yourself. They come at you with 20. That's what they do. And I don't know if they knew the bus had former Vice President Joe Biden on the bus or not. But if they did know, if that does come out, I wouldn't be surprised. You, white man, you're smart enough you're smart enough to know you don't really want to pick a fight with the establishment. You don't. Because, white man, even with your trucks and your guns and all your accoutrements, you are nothing in the face of this establishment. You are not like the Secret Service are the best snipers in the world. You are nothing in the face. I don't care how many years you did in the U.S. Army, with toilet paper and stuff. I don't care how many. I don't care about any of that bullshit. I don't care about any of that shit on a ship or something. If you choose to fuck with this establishment the way you're pushing, you're gonna get what you're looking for. But it may not be the way you want it. You're gonna learn what the Black Panthers learned. You're gonna learn what Fred Hampton learned. When this system wants you, they'll get you. It's just a matter of time. That's all it is. So, they went after the bus. They hit a staffer's car with a pickup truck. I'm from North Carolina. That's a very common thing. People running around with big pickup trucks and big mufflers. That's very common down there. That's the one thing about Pennsylvania that I'm surprised about. People aren't running around, racing around, cutting you off and stuff up here. It's a little slower up here. Kind of gotten used to it. Yeah. Um, I'll say this, man, and I said this before. This whole thing, Trump flags, and I had seen a big Trump flag before. I worked for Eagle. I was in Denver, North Carolina, and this guy had a Jeep with a Trump flag that was probably, I want to say 10 feet, not 8, 9, 10 feet long, probably like 6, 7 feet wide. I mean, like length. I mean width. And it had like yellow fringes. You could tell do this, and he gave me this look of like viciousness, like vile, and I wasn't really political back then like I am now. I really didn't. I wasn't like I'm a socialist. It was just kind of like, hey, I knew this was bad. One thing I've noticed with the Trump supporters and with all this viciousness is that they all look angry and they all look frustrated. And it's not. My point is, it's not like they're going to accomplish anything. It's like, to me, when I see the big flags and the guns, and what we saw the other day in New York where they blocked the bridge, which you should have went to jail for. And when they talking about AOC and all this kind of stuff, I hope she doesn't come this way. And they hit this bus, like all this stuff. It's like white supremacy is in decline, and they know it. And so they've got money. Like white folks have money. You have money to spend on guns, but you complain about a quarantine. You got a gun that maybe costs like $5,000 with all the pieces. That vest probably costs another $1,000 with all the stuff on it. Yeah, I mean gas masks and all that stuff too. You've got all this equipment. You've got all this gear. It's like they're trying to get fascism to catch on, and it's not working. I mean, it's working in spots, but it's not working the way they want it to. They're like, it's like they know Trump might not win, or they don't really, they have any hope in that. But they're trying to cement fascism. They're trying to like We're sticking our flag. We're fascists. We're Nazis. We hate black people. We hate gays. We hate this. Fuck those Mexicans. That's like what I see is that they're losing control, even with Kavanaugh, even with the federal judges Trump's put in, that the social mores are not going in their direction. And that has not changed. In fact, I think the fascism scares people away. See, to me, what Trump's fascism is like, it's kind of like what the Russians did, what Stalin and them did. That when you had the Nazi stuff, they went towards the Jews. The Polish, they went towards Jewish stuff because what Hitler was doing was so bad. We are against you. That's kind of what America's doing with Trump. I don't think that works, guys. No, I don't think it works. And obviously these are desperate tactics of desperate people, and so now they're willing to commit crimes. They're willing to go across state lines with a rifle and run up in a protest with a bunch of angry people, and then oops, I shot somebody. This is white people. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, I knew not to do stuff like that. When I was real young, I knew if you go out here and you do this, you get your ass whooped. White folks have no fear. They have no fear. They have no fear whatsoever, and that's a problem. That's a real. They have no fear. That's what I saw with the Kenosha shooter, and that's what I see with trying to run a president-elect off the road, his bus off the road. Like I said, those rednecks are lucky Biden was not on that bus. Because if there was, you'd have some dead rednecks right now. You'd have some dead rednecks, cars totaled, excuse me. They probably got machine guns, man. You crackers don't realize, see, that's the thing. I don't think white people that are out there realize what the national security state is. I'm a black man, okay? I'm a black man. I've read a lot about Hoover. I got books at home about the FBI and Hoover. The Merkin files, which is the files on Dr. King's assassination. Dude, if the federal government can run in there and turn SCLC against SNCC, what the fuck do you think they can do against you crackers? That was black people fighting for survival when white supremacy was trying to destroy us. You crackers are just going and blocking off bridges because you want to. When we protested George Floyd's murder, that was murder. That was a murder that we were protesting. When you crackers go and block a bridge because you want to, you're making a point to everybody else. We're dangerous and we need to be dealt with. We're a problem. That's not a one-off thing. That's white people flexing their muscles that, hey, look, we can do it too whenever we want to. That's what this is all about anyway. It's just about we can do whatever we want, fighting for liberty, being whatever we want anytime, no matter how crazy it is what it is. So if you have a quarantine, we call it slavery, and run out there with guns on and invest. That's what this is. There's no value to it. And like I said, and see, it's crazy because the Republican establishment isn't really against you guys. But what you're really doing, and this is in the face of us taking the Senate, what you're really doing is this will be a gimme where Republicans will say, okay, see, we do have some problems. And so now we're going to get ways to control you people. You don't, that's the thing about Trump supporters and white supremacy. They don't think long term. White supremacy was about long term thought. If you go back and you look at this man's history, they look long term, 20 years in the future. Proud Boys and all this is not long term. Blocking bridges is not long term. That's something that we did. We had no other choice. When the Black Panthers went up in the state capitol with rifles and shotguns, we had no choice. We went out there and we were following police around, making sure they didn't abuse people's rights. So we had no choice. When you as a white man choose just run up there with your SUV and block a major thoroughfare, you have a choice. That thoroughfare is not stopping. It's not affecting your. Like I said, this is just a white aggrievement, you know. And there's a shift going on if Biden wins, where you already see Republicans kind of changing gears. Ted Cruz spoke against Trump on some things. Susan Collins. You're already seeing them kind of shift to the post-Trump Republican Party. I'm not buying it. Fuck that bullshit. You crackers stood behind Trump on 90% of what he did. Fuck you and your families. I'm not buying it. I am not buying it. I'm not buying it. But you already kind of slowly see it that they're, wait a minute. This is a lie. Wait a minute. They're starting to ask real questions now. What you're doing is going to put you in the crosshairs. Let's get it twisted. If Republicans throw us something, some kind of acknowledgement of white supremacy, or they give the federal, the FBI some kind of office or something to investigate, that won't cost them anything. That's like me walking outside and some guy says it's raining and I say, yeah, it's raining. That doesn't cost me anything because that's obvious. When you're running buses off the road and hitting staffers or people running for president, you are literally giving people like me ammunition because I already know how violent you crackers are. And I already know that you only follow the law when it benefits you. You're proving that. Those guys should go to prison. Okay? Those guys should go to prison, period. No, just not a joke. They should be going to prison, period. I mean, I've said this before. When you engage in white supremacist violence, there needs to come a point to where like we're sending them guys to Guantanamo Bay. Like the Charleston shooter, like the Pittsburgh shooter, Tree of Life, like no, dude. That needs to be a law. Like if you're going out here with the intent to create harm and fear and chaos, you're an enemy of the state. That needs to happen. And I just think that, eventually we'll get someone that'll push that. And people like the folks on that bridge in New York and running the bus out the road in Texas, they're making that possible. I mean, it's a terrifying time, but they're showing the whole world what we always said about white supremacy. We always said that the law was designed to benefit them, and when the laws don't benefit them, they'll break them. This is another example of the proof of that. Thanks for listening.